Roughly 2 weeks ago, you, Riley Davis, did a John Rothstein impersonation on this very program that resulted in both sleepers and both of us individually being followed by the one and only GOAT, John Rothstein, shortly after. I believe I am pleased to be joined by Riley Rothstein once again right now. And I think what we're here to discuss is UConn's announcement that they are beginning a home and home with Kansas beginning this season. They'll play on December 2nd in Lawrence, and then a return game to UConn will happen next year. Mr. Rothstein, thank you for being here. You dubbed this as, quote, the best non-conference schedule in the history of UConn basketball. Please explain.
What the University of Connecticut has done here for college basketball is the template going forward, Greg. They have BYU in the Garden. They have Arizona, Illinois, and also in the Garden. I'm sorry, man. I can't maintain it. I was ready to like fire off a take that Rothstein's just exaggerating because the year that UConn made this or won their second national title, they played UNC in the Garden and they played at Kansas and played Gonzaga in Seattle. And I was like, surely that year had to be tougher. But aside from those three, their non-con schedule was pretty soft. And this year, I do actually think it's a murderer's row that I would say even speaks to Dan Hurley kind of getting his lick back and wanting to prove a point this year with playing BYU in Boston. I think Arizona's at home, Illinois in the Garden, at Kansas, Florida in the Garden, and then Rothstein included Texas in his original tweet, but I'm like, who cares? I get like this Texas team's not really moving me, and I historically do fall for the burnt orange every year, but those are like four and a half really tough games. Let's say five if they're going at Kansas, if it's in Allen Fieldhouse. Like I would say Florida, Arizona, BYU are bona fide top 10 squads for me. Illinois is top 15. Kansas is probably top 25, top 30, and gets a bump up to being top 20 in their own building. So yeah, it's a murderer's row for sure.
Yeah, it lost a little bit of luster. Just the tweet did with the Texas inclusion. I agree with you
Yeah.
on that. But
Yeah.
yeah, look, just point blank, BYU top five team in the sport. That's a great way to kick off the season. Arizona top 15 team in the sport. I think they're more like top 10. They might get there by the time that game comes around on November 19th. Illinois definitely in the top 20 in the sport at MSG. That's a fun game. On the road at Kansas. Not your mama's Kansas. I mean, this is a preseason non-top 10 Kansas Jayhawks team. So we are talking about a schedule that includes one top 10 team in it right now. Well, two, Florida.
Florida.
We have two top 10 teams.
Arizona was in our official sleepers top 10 last week. We go off our own
Okay.
poll.
If we're going off our own rankings, then yeah, easily the hardest schedule ever. Um, five top 25 games, two top 10. Do we consider that a gauntlet?
I think it is. I don't like, I mean, getting Florida
Like that, I'm just looking through
MSG.
schedule. Sorry to interrupt. They've played Duke and Kentucky in a couple different off seasons here where they were both top five teams in the sport. Like it feels similar, right? This video is brought to you by NBA2KLab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well, and they're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game, and I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
Yeah. When did they play Duke in the non-con?
This was back in 2010. They played Duke, who was number one on Ken Palm, Kentucky, who was number four on Ken Palm in the same non-con.
Okay, so you really went back in the archives doing research. I got back to like Dan Hurley's second year and was like, this is enough research for me. I'm with you, Rothstein.
Well, I will say think there's a point here that Dan Hurley has historically not scheduled all that tough
Yeah,
as
that was
the
it was
UConn
kind of
head
shocking
coach.
for me to see that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Even last year, coming off the title, I was like, their schedule sucked,
A
and then
lot of
now,
like non-con games in the 350s. Like let's play the very worst of the worst here for the first month. So, yeah, in that sense, it does feel like an intentional Dan Hurley resurgence move, right? Oh, I think I love my roster this year, and let's remind people who we are on the biggest
Mhm.
stage. And that would excite me in a big way if I'm a UConn fan.
Well, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's clear to. I would say that's something that's fair to discern from this. As we look at this roster, excuse me, this schedule, how much of an advantage do you think it is for UConn playing in the TD Garden as opposed to MSG?
Dude, I don't understand any of the East Coast home court stuff. UConn has like four home gyms, two of them are NBA facilities. Like
Like,
I
why?
just don't get it.
You would think, I'm like, as stores, they call MSG Stores South. How much closer is MSG to stores than the TD Garden?
I have no idea. No idea.
Interesting. Now, what do you think their record is in these 5 games?
But yeah, let's go through them. Are we giving them a Texas win for sure? How funny would it be if they go 5-0 through the first five and lose to Texas?
Sean Miller, baby, announcing his presence in Austin year one. No, I think they win that game.
The
I think they,
scariest one is at Kansas, I think. Although
yeah.
BYU on a neutral has my full attention too.
hmm
I like them to beat Illinois at MSG. I like them to beat Arizona, and I like them to beat Florida for sure. BYU and at Kansas are the two I think are losable.
I would say I feel pretty confident they beat BYU. I don't know. I feel like BYU is. I just trust the Hurley with the experience better, and BYU has some new pieces that they're relying on. Like maybe the moment's too big for age. DeBonsa has like historically elevated his game in the biggest moments, so maybe that's a bad argument there.
And it
But
might, it might be one of those things. UConn does return a lot of pieces from a team that wasn't all that successful last year.
yeah,
Do they need a little bit? Like, does
yeah.
Solo Ball and Terrace Reed look at each other like, are we ready for this? When
Mhm.
BYU's kind of the hot team. I don't know. I would set the over under at 3.5. Not counting the Texas game, just doing BYU, Arizona, Illinois, at Kansas, Florida. Over under 3.5 wins for UConn in those 5 games. And I would take the under.
I would take the over. I think they won 4 of them.
Okay. I'll go 3-2. What one do you think is the loss?
I'll say Florida. I'll say the Gator boys stay hot.
You think they go into Rock Chalk and get a dub?
I think they do.
Wow, that'd be a big time win.